Sure. I don't really need to think twice about it, even with the broken glasses. If I ever actually go to New York Times and see what kind of article we have, I actually read it really quickly. It's not really opinion. Are you crazy? No, I already actually read everything. It's really easy. Probably, the America's most favored infrastructure initiative was like in late 1960s there was interstate and highway reconstruction, which was really actually laying down the roads to actually connect different states. Interstate commerce was one of the reasons why there was a recognition for antitrust law in the United States. But in the 1960s, especially late 1960s, there was a massive interstate highway construction. Um, yeah, in New Orleans. And I mean, this is really starting from those lines were starting from New Orleans, but this is really comprehending the reasons surrounding Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi and up until I think up until the mid state, like Ohio. This is really a massive work. But almost in half a century later, Joe Biden yesterday, he actually stood behind the podium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is really the city that has been already recognized as the industry of steel, metal, and what? Yeah, and coal, right? This is a really icon for industrial revolution in the United States. And now it's been very clear. The city really needs to renovate its system, otherwise it would have forever it would be a ghost town. It would be a matter of time. Unless there would be immediate reformation to change the paradigm of their business or their way of doing business. Then this would actually be gone, right? So it's an enormous amount of money. Approximately 40 billion. $40 billion are promised for what? Laying down or even beefing up the national highways. This is really the granular language, speed. And it means, this is a very, fundamental work that would actually be done to prop up the national infrastructure, because in airports and roads and also bridges, those type of a basic civil engineering works are being old-fashioned or demoted out of fashion, right? So they need to actually be reconstructed. That's really the reason why there are a massive amount of budgetary allowances are being made. So the monies are being allocated to specify the tasks. So this type of recognitions are this type of recognitions were addressed by President Joe Biden at the time when he delivered a very notable speech in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's very easy. I don't really need to think twice about it. This kind of article is a really piece of shit. I mean, tell the truth, it's very easy for me to comprehend what was going on. Yeah, then Pittsburgh is really the chimney of the United States for eons, right? That was really where legendary tycoons like Carnegie Mellon led their economy, right? Now, this was, once upon a time in the chimney of the United States and the factory floor of the United States, whose focus was on coal business and the metal industry, steel industry. I have to actually make distinctions. Steel industry is a better, right? I don't really need to think about it. It's really easy. What if I actually missed it? But the total amount of the infrastructure bill is like a 2 trillion, but specifically $40 billion is the total sum of money that would actually eventually be spent to strengthen the roads and bridges across the nation. I mean, that's what has been said. It's really easy. No, I don't. I never actually had any difficulty. You want to actually read anything? I don't want. I don't want to actually read it. I have a Wall Street Journal. I have my Wall Street Journal, so I can actually read it. It's really easy for me to actually read it. Journalism like no other. Oh no, I don't want to actually share the same story. So what has been next is that is the United States is really the country that is driving the war supply chain forward. Why? Because what the U.S. Domestic market experiences a pretty much strong performance in recent days, especially by U.S. consumers. They were actually pretty much beef up with the governmental allowances. They actually pick up their checks issued by the Uncle Sam, so they can actually splurge on some of the things they wanted to buy, but so far they couldn't. Right? These are really the major factors that would eventually prop up the performance of economy in general. This is really the number. These are really the numbers that were actually collected by the Institute for Supply Chain and the Consumer Behavior Analysis. So it has been actually said that more and more people are finally, stepping out of their house to spend some money. They would have liked to assume their role as a consumer again. Wow, that's a really great news because so far during the pandemic crisis, American consumers were strained. Yeah, cash is strained, and that they were actually under enormous pressure, so they couldn't actually take on the role as a consumer, right? That was one of the reasons. However, the United States is simply waking up right now. It's really about to unfold its wings, just like butterfly waking up. So the global economy is also expected to gain momentum from the United States. It's really a positive news because in recent days there had been a series of tensions. There are serious tensions mounting up. So surrounding the world economy, especially the blockage of the Suez Canal, right? Because this is a major channel for supply and demand, and this type of a suspension would eventually wreak havoc on the global economy. That's what has been expected. However, the United States domestic market is gradually opening up, just like the fast rollout of vaccines. The U.S. economy is about to get back to normalcy, so this is really a positive prospect, right? And it is really true. Many of indications are siding with this hypothesis. U.S. consumers are again opening up their wallets to purchase necessities, and even actually, they've been enjoying surplus of disposable cash on their hands. Because so far they were too cash strained, they were too budget tight to anything outside their comfy zone. So they were now venturing into the terrain lesser known, right? Yeah. So that means, you know what, if you were really a consumer in the United States, then you can actually probably buy a new dress. You can probably think about purchasing a new car. You know, these kind of somewhat luxurious consumption could be expected. Then that would be the great booster. All right, we can definitely expect to have a booster effect. That's really a positive sign for the global economy. More demand coming from the United States, that means, you know, the global supply chain is just being lubricated. There is no greater lubricator than, you know, people with the US dollars. They're going to pump money into the market, then the factories are going to operate again. This is really a positive aspect. You know, technically the global economy was pretty much, you know, darkened, and it was actually in this gloomy phase because of the recent brouhaha with the Suez Canal. Yeah. But you know, there was at least a shimmer of a hope. If you ever actually turn to the United States, you know, people are finally, yeah, taking a fancy to silly shopping. That's really important. You don't actually blame those people who might actually go on binge shopping, because they're the one who actually rescue the economy. Right, then investors are probably again deposit confidence in the market, then they can go back to market in order to purchase more shares, right? Isn't that so?